No, you finish that sandwich.
There's no rush.
Well, somebody got to fill the space. This is why I'm on the camera.
It's hard back there, dude.
No, this is good.
It's tough behind the camera. I'm telling you.
How are you holding that mic?
It's built. It's like a built-in mic holder on the right side.
3-finger grip. You're like a baseball pitcher.
A baseball batter.
Throwing a slider out there.
Well, I put you on the camera. I need you to explain yourself. So hold on.
This wasn't planned at all. You just hey, let's switch spots and then we're gonna start rolling.
I'm curious where this is going to.
I have no idea.
It could be great or this could ruin us.
No, I need you to explain
the beginning of the end
because UFC 300 is next week.
Correct.
Which thus means you have 7 days left on the job.
Well, next weekend. So.
Well, today's Monday. We record on Monday.
Right, but I have one more recording job here, right?
Okay.
But then all the editing and the social media stuff, it's just exhausting.
Yeah. And with the editing, he was like, yeah, I'm doing this and this and this. I was like, why are you doing that? Why not just post a couple things on social media and send us a thumbnail? And
okay. Well, that's why I wanted to put him on camera because I need everybody to look at him. And all right, here, hold on. I'm on the 1s and 2s now. All right, Gabe, look into the camera.
Look into the camera.
What are you? What are you going to do with your free time? Where are you going after you leave us?
Listen, man, I don't owe anybody any explanation. All right, I know what you're trying to do here.
You owe the fans.
I don't. You owe us
anything. All.
I'm putting you
the
on
the only thing I owed the people was pronouncing the names correctly when I'm calling out the fights. Other than that,
why do you think our viewership is up?
From me. That is true. I will say this. I was talking to Coach a little bit last night. I was looking at the views going through the YouTube videos. Dude, over the last month and a half or so, we're averaging about 1,000 more views per video than we were 2 months ago.
Because you've been on the mic.
We're on the rise.
And you know what? One of the main comments is that that you have done a lot of hard work pronouncing the names right. So you finally start doing a good job, and now you're about to leave. Yeah. To go do what?
I wanted to leave with a bang.
To go do what? Bare knuckle?
We're gonna 420. 420. No, like I said, we talked about on the last episode, the guy in the comments, he said, you know what, the producer's trash. And Coach jumped into my defense, which, hey
got
my
you,
man.
Fam.
Thanks, fam. And he says, we got the best producer in the world. But like I said, I took what that guy said to heart, and I was like, I got to learn how to pronounce these names. And the response that the commenter made to his response was, you know what, I'm just trying to help you guys get views. And lo and behold, man, I started learning how to pronounce the names. The views have gone up. The dude was right.
Yeah, the dude was onto something. On the mic because
he's sidestepping.
He's sidestepping. Why don't
he's sidestepping.
Okay, I need you for 15 seconds. Look in this goddamn microphone and tell us what you're gonna do with your life after us.
I'm not getting paid for that, Brandon. You don't pay me to explain to the people what I'm going to do with my personal life.
10 more seconds.
Listen, there's some projects that I want to focus on. Paintings aren't going to paint themselves. I'm kind of trying to grow my art business a little bit. I want to work on some personal videos and projects and different things that I'm doing. Right now, a lot of time is going into the podcast, and which I like, and I love hanging out with the boys. These guys are fam. I just want some more personal time to focus on things that I want to work on. That's all you're getting from me, Brandon.
That's okay, but I mean, if you're gonna leave us, well, then why don't you plug the stuff you need to?
That's right. I told him.
Vague answer. Why don't you grab one of these paintings, hold it in front of your face, and say, "This is $3.95."
Well, listen. You wanted me to.
I told him the other day. I said, "Hey, rotate your paintings." I said, and we'll put them.
I don't
up
have
in
any
the
new
back.
paintings to rotate. I haven't had enough time to work on new paintings to rotate.
Yeah, because we are.
This is what I'm saying.
You to the bone.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
I'm
I'm losing sleep. I haven't slept since the last time we recorded the pod.
You work 4 hours a week here. Come on.
No, but no, let's look. Look
at him stumbling over his words.
I've had a great time here. They've treated me like family since I've joined the pod. It's been fun. We have another episode. We're gonna finish with UFC 300. Go out with a bang. It'll be good.
So he'll be back on 301.
So see you guys for the fight night the following weekend.
He just has to take 1 week off. He's going out of town.
Right. I need a vacation.
You can't do it.
That's what I need.
We can switch it. That's all I wanted.
Get out of here.
Get me out of the hot seat.
I'm glad you did that. I didn't know where we were going, but somebody had to call him out on his nonsense. That was ridiculous. Oh man.
All right. I'm not cut out for that behind. You're gonna watch in the final clip when we put this all together. I'm like zipping to him and back to you and back to him. Oh, good God.
Got his Parkinson's fingers over here. Just
and on the flip side, this dude wasn't even talking to the mic half the time.
Hey, Before we get into this week, can we talk about the abomination of last week's card?
Okay.
We can't skim over that. That was brutal.
The whole card was, first of all, yeah, we did bad reads, which is fine. Okay. And then there was a couple weird things that happened also.
Multiple eye pokes, weird reffing.
Oh, yeah. Just decisions in general.
Yeah.
This would never happen in bare knuckle.
Never. You know exactly what's going on with bare knuckle, except for those times when people take dives and you don't.
Yeah.
Man,
no, that was super weird. The Weidman one, see who was it? Dumbass that fought?
Yeah, dumbass just fell over.
No, he didn't fall. He stood standing. But that one weirdly wasn't as bad to me as the Weidman one, where not only this was the part, poked him like 10 times, but then he comes out in the next exchanges and literally has his fingers open like this. And I'm just going, it's going to happen again in the next 30 seconds. And then sure enough, Bruno comes in and he goes, pop, pop. He just drops him like he got
double
shot.
Tapped his fingers. Man, he went at it.
He should have gave him this defense.
Yeah. That was wild. The Algio fight, it was a quick stoppage. It wasn't that it was a bad stoppage.
I didn't think it was the worst, and I had my whole life savings on Algio.
No, but Algio just looks so like, dude, you're going against a Canadian with newfound cardio. Like maybe be a little bit safer over here.
He's always fought that hands down style, but it always works for him, and usually he stays safe. But man, it's crazy. Rough.
I told you earlier, the only happy thing about that card, and I wish I'd even put it on my picks for the Patreon, was, I said Fiorot was probably going to win. We liked her.
Yeah.
And I said what my favorite thing about that whole card that I said anyway was looking at Fiorot's sense of urgency to not get taken down, to avoid the grappling exchanges. She does not just get pushed to the fence and like hanging out and like, all right, I'll move. No, she is like flailing and scratching and clawing, getting the fuck out of there.
This is going to sound weird, but I hate her striking though. For some reason, it's so like wide and she doesn't sit down on anything. And she is there to get hit also. Erin just is not a good striker. Yeah, she's not a good striker.
Not the one. Yep. I don't think you should hate saying that, or people should give you shit for that. Like if her striking is predicated on moving a lot and letting
lots of volume.
Well, I think it's a lot of making people miss and then kind of swinging that right hook. But with how much she makes people miss, she should be swinging on people and hurting them.
She just goes, ha, ha, ha. But you kind of talk about this. You said this with Dom Cruz. Like, he can't hurt anybody because he doesn't swing like a boxer. Like, boxers sit down and their punches are coming from here. You have full structure on your body. She swings and everything is trailing her body. It's always like these check hooks that are really wide, but they trail her body. So she can't hurt anybody. Like,
yeah. I liked her footwork. Her footwork was really good, especially she did a really good job of circling left, and then when Blanchfield would come in, she would redirect right and throw that check hook, which was, yes, it is a check hook, but it was almost a hinge that was just guiding her out of there. So that was actually really nice. Great footwork, great cardio, physicality of Fiorot.
Just crazy. She's huge.
Yeah, and we said that going into that fight, but honestly, the physicality by far superseded what I expected out of the situation.
Yeah, it was a very bittersweet day. It was probably one of the most expensive days I've had in a long time.
Really?
Well, yeah, I ended up losing like, I don't know, 15, 20 grand in the whole weekend. And that's after being up a ton. And then I bought this little thing.
I saw that. Nice little guy.
Yeah, this is, I think I told this story on Vato Loco Soto Dojo, but he pulled the episode down. So I kind of told that story about how I went in to Oliver Smith. It's a local jewelry place here in Arizona. And the guy, I was, wearing my work clothes and I sat down with him. He showed me these pieces. Their starting piece, new, $14,000. That's their basic, just no bells, no whistles. They go all the way up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And this guy sat down with me. I was only 25 at the time. Took time, showed me every in and out, was passionate about it. I loved it. And then I told him, I said, hey, I'm going to Vegas tomorrow to put in a $40,000 bet. If I win, I'm going to come back and get it. And sure enough, I lost 70 grand. And then I didn't ever end up getting the watch. And so I've had a good few weeks. I'm going to start investing in real estate with a lot of my winnings and stuff like that. But I said, now might be the time. And so I actually went back in, and funny enough, that guy was there, the guy who sat down with me, and I was able to buy this piece from him. This is a Lange and Sone watch. It's a German watch. It's white gold. It is just beautiful. It's been my dream watch, and I think my collection is complete for a while, for a substantial amount of time. So very cool.
Well, congratulations.
Full circle.
I like it. Let's get in this week's fights.
All right, let's do it.
I hate this card. Not in terms of even betting. It just is like boring.
Just to watch.
Yeah, just something. I don't give a shit about a lot of these people. But let's do it. If you guys want, if you are willing and able, feel free to like and subscribe.
Hey, also Santino's selling his house. So if you guys want to buy his house, I'll give out the address.
Yeah, give out the address. Let everyone show up. Yeah, I am looking at selling my house.
So if you're interested, buy it. The address is 4716 North 12th Street, Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah.
All right, let's go. Anything else before we get going?
I don't have anything else.
I don't have anything else either. Let's do
Life's
it.
pretty normal.
Yeah, life's normal. Life's good. I'm not going to the gym later today because I'm going to take my kids to wrestling.
Oh, you're not going to paint?
That's lame.
Yeah, I don't have enough time on my hands to paint. Sorry.
Who does? Who does these days?
I was thinking of giving my kids up for adoption so I have more time to do arts and crafts.
Wait, but how long is this wrestling
like
practice?
So,
you guys don't know. I had 2 kids.
Yeah. As it turns out.
Melissa Dixon. First fight of the night. Melissa Dixon minus 340 versus Nora Corolle plus 270.
Hey, all right. So actually, I want to start on this. But then there's 2 fights that I need you to start on, regardless of how they fall.
Don't you mean irregardless?
Irregardless of how they fall. The Charlie Campbell and Trevor Peake, because I know how much you love Charlie Campbell.
Okay.
And then, of course, the Brandon Allen fight. So I need you to go on those 2 first, because I'm curious your thoughts on them before I say anything, just because I want to hear them. So anyway, I'm going to touch on this one. And you guys know that I watch a lot of the women's fights and I'm always taping them. This one, I got, a little bit of it. Was just this fight card. I wasn't able to tape as much women's MMA as I usually do. But last week, I was taping last week or the week before.
Was it Lupi and Verna?
No, it was Daria Zelazakova.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And in the Daria Zelazakova fight.
So by proxy, you watched.
I watched Melissa. Holy, she's a horse. She's got some takedowns and she can, her ground and pound is great. Her top control is great.
You think her takedowns are good?
Good enough. I mean, I thought they were.
Her top game's nasty.
Her top game is good. Her takedowns are not amazing, but she finds her way on top and she will scramble, catch some kicks and do that. But if she gets on top, she is just a brute. And she's going against a French woman who's probably a striker. And so by default, I'm going Melissa Mullins wins this.
Wait, against a French woman? Isn't she Italian?
Nora.
Oh, okay. You're right.
Corolle. And so, look. All right, so there's a couple things. In her picture on Tapology, she has Muay Thai shorts and elbow pads on.
She's a Thai fighter.
She's a Thai fighter from France. So, all things considered, I'm going with the good grappler not from France. Because I've seen tape on that good grappler.
Now, what were the odds one more time?
So
I could be pretty far off here.
Melissa Dixon is minus 340. Nora Corolle is plus 270.
There you go. So see, I was perfect. The odds makers agree with me.
Here's where I'm at on this one. This fight to me is you have to just plan on Melissa Mullins having a really good game plan, because if she's going to stand there and strike, this other girl is nasty. Yeah. She's mean she's legitimately mean on the feet. She's a Muay Thai girl, uses all 9 limbs. Is there 9?
8, but in Lethaway, we've got a head.
Does that count as headbutts? Yeah. Yeah. She uses all her limbs. She's pretty nasty on the feet. And if this is a striking affair, I don't know. That's a wide line if it's striking. Now, if Mullins gets on top, this is going to look silly. I agree. Because in her last fight, Cornell was using these weird random things to find her way to the top and squirming out. That's against Jocelyn Edwards, who does not have near the top game of Mullins, Dixon, whatever. Why do these people keep getting married? It's so aggravating.
That's so 2004.
Yeah, you keep losing once you get married. But anyways. The thing that I didn't like about Mullins in her UFC debut, she never really initiated the grappling. All her grappling was off of failed throws of Alexieva. It's kind of like you were talking about with Luque, right? Luque didn't actually start the grappling with RDA. He was countering the grappling. And so it just makes me wonder, is she going to come out and proactively look to grapple? And Cornell's got a decent first layer takedown defense. Sometimes she just overswings and that's what gets her taken down, right? She's trying to kill people and then gets taken down. I think that Mullins is rightfully the favorite due to the huge grappling edge. But if Mullins isn't playing a good game plan and they just stand and strike with each other, this line is going to look insane, I think.
And it's women's MMA, so generally the lines are about right, and they always work exactly how it's expected.
Loopy going for a heel hook. What did I say? You know, I gave it perfect.
Dumbest shit.
I gave the perfect breakdown last week. I said, in a vacuum, if these two fight, this is the worst style matchup for Loopy, like in the world. A girl would do jiu-jitsu. And I said, Loopy does stupid, didn't I say this? Stupid jiu-jitsu things all the time. And what does she do? She goes for a heel hook in the middle of the fight.
Yeah, if she had sprawled, shoved the head, and just gotten back up, or like...
She looked like she was going to knock her out in the first round. You're like, uh-oh, it's coming.
Yep.
And then she just lets her into it. Anyways, I got Mullins to win, but I think this one could be close.
All right,
next up, Dylan Budka minus 162 versus Cesar Almeida plus 136.
Thoughts?
Are you allowed to chat this one?
I'm going to chat it. For disclaimer, Cesar, because Cesar didn't really train with us. I mean, he did. He was here for Kelvin's camp for about, a month, 2 months, 3 months. I forget how many months. So I will talk about it a bit because I don't feel like he was, our guy. Like I love Cesar.
And he left. Yeah.
Awesome guy and everything. I guess I'll talk first just because
please.
I'm already talking. Cesar's older. He's 35.
36, actually. 36,
potato. The thing with Cesar is he's got beautiful timing on his striking. So everyone talks about his, of course he beat Alex Pineda back in the day. That's so long ago, it's almost irrelevant. His timing when he was with Kelvin and he would be sparring with the whole team, training with first thing, he just wanted to learn. And just anytime anybody would work any sort of cage grappling, jiu-jitsu, anything MMA, he was there. He was about it. And he was grabbing, he made it fun for Kelvin as well. And like Kelvin wanted to he'd train and get all his work in, and then Cesar would be like, all right, let's go on the cage. And just would be cage wrestling with Kelvin for like 40 minutes, an hour afterwards, just having fun. He really, his energy is good. He's super positive. He wants to work. He wants to learn. He was out there trying to be throwing, right hands at Kelvin, and any moment in between, he'd be like, hey, go on the cage. What would I do here? What would I do there? So he really wanted to learn, and he was spending all of his time learning wrestling while he was there. And he had a really good aptitude for it. So just mentally, he was a very good student. So it was, a lot of fun. His striking, he would just be sitting there and just almost like face out, just touching the chest, not even trying. And just sharpshooting people, and he would spar with everyone on the team. And he's really clean. He's really calm. He is a good striker. We saw in his contender fight where he got taken down. Honestly, he actually defended a little bit and then got taken down kind of out in the open. Then, we saw how all of that played out. Budka, they list him as a wrestler, but I think his wrestling is very, very, very average at best. He wrestled like a half a year in college or maybe a year. Like this is not a high level wrestler that they're talking about. I did some stalking, and in Maryland, he was a very average wrestler in Maryland on his way up. And so he's fine. I actually think his striking is better than
people give it credit for.
Yes. And I think it's better than his wrestling. We've seen his last couple of fights. In the fight that he lost, split decision against the Russian, where he was just moving and moving and moving, he actually looked decent, but he was moving too much. When he stopped moving, started settling down, and then started pressing, his striking actually looks good. The issue with him, though, is if he wants to settle down and have good striking against Almeida, that's a bad idea. And then if he shuffles around the way that he did against Almeida, when he plants, it's going to be a big tell, and so I don't think he's going to be very successful there either. So then I think he's got to wrestle Cesar, and then if he does, I think it really comes down to something we've talked about so much, is damage versus wrestling control. And I think that Cesar is going to be able to throw down and hurt him more so than Budka is going to be able to control him, because Budka grapples, but I don't see like some great, amazing ground and pound where he's going to really do a lot of damage. And Cesar stays really calm, even in those bad positions. And I like Caesar here. I'm completely biased on the situation because I really do like him as a human, but I think he can really hurt him. And then I think he can steal a decision if Budka's not really doing a lot of damage.
I tipped this one in our Discord when Budka was an underdog plus 122. I had that on a FanDuel line. I played it, and now he's flipped to a big favorite. My read on this, like you said, his wrestling's not amazing, but he's very consistent. He doesn't stop. He paces guys. He wears them out. He re-wrestles. He chain grapples. He's good on defense. And then even striking wise, like you said, he's not the best in the world, but he's a lot better than people give him credit for. He's game and big block head. That's what I like too. Here's the thing with Caesar. He fought another Brazilian guy who is fine. He's big body, long guy, explosive, athletic, all that stuff. But that guy can't wrestle a lick, not at all. And he got Caesar down on the very first exchange within the first 20 seconds of the fight on some kind of like random takedown, got Caesar down. And then in round 3, this dude was death gassed on death's door. And not only could Caesar not finish him, but that dude just shot in on the legs one time and got Caesar down immediately. Now you have Budka, who has a lot better top control than Almeida does. Or I'm sorry,
who he fought in the contender.
Yeah, Lucas Fernando.
Yep.
Fernando, someone was like, yeah, Fernando's jiu-jitsu is a lot better. And I'm like, yeah, his os jiu-jitsu, but not his like MMA top game, beautiful control. Budka will wrestle and re-wrestle and re-wrestle. And I think his hips are so heavy and his center of gravity is so low. I think he's going to wear Caesar out. I mean, I think he's going to take him down over and over and over again. And top control guys, just like he did to Pogue, just like he's done to a lot of these guys. And that was my initial read. Now, at plus 122, loved it. That's a great play. At minus 180, it's a lot tougher. You're right, because Caesar is slick. He does move well. He's going to punish him on the feet. And then, like you said, it's that whole thing, damage versus control. I like Budka to win here, but now I have options to play with. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Okie dokie. The other thing with Budka, really quickly, just last thing is, it's almost like the Luke thing where, Budka's offensive wrestling is fine. Where I think he does the best is when he's defending wrestling and reshooting.
Yeah.
He actually, oddly, it's weird to not have amazing success with offensive wrestling, but then when somebody shoots and then you reshoot on them, you have much better success with it, which is just something interesting about Budka. So, all right, moving on.
All right. Next up, Jean Matsumoto minus 185 versus Dan Argueta plus 154.
Give us thoughts.
So it's funny. Last week there was like a handful of underdogs that everybody was on, and everyone kind of group thinks on the same thing. And this week everybody's on Argueta. Everybody's on Argueta. Fine, I get it. I understand the look. I'm objective enough to get it and understand. However, Argueta makes a lot of bad grappling mistakes. He does. For as pace heavy as he is as a grappler, he makes a ton of mistakes. He'll jump for guillotines. He'll do all this kind of crazy stuff. And then he had that fight with, hold on, let me pull this up. He had the fight in LFA with, what's this guy's name?
Was it Jackson Filo?
No, Diego Silva.
Okay, yep.
With Diego Silva. And Diego Silva, especially since that time, has been shown to be kind of a gatekeeper, just a journeyman. And everybody was like, man, Argueta's going to pace that guy. He's going to submit him. He's going to beat him up. People are thinking of him as Khabib because of what he did to Myron Santos. And he didn't end up getting him down almost at all. It was a lot of cage pushing and a lot of stuff. And Silva doesn't even have the best gas tank. Now you got a kid in John Matsumoto who, like, I read your Patreon write-up on this. He's squirmy on the ground. He does seem to have a good first layer takedown defense. Casey did get him down a couple times, but again, it was on an overswing. It wasn't like, Casey just shot and, this guy fell over. He was swinging to try to hurt Casey and then got taken down. With all the mistakes that Argueta makes, and his striking is awful. It is bad. I'm amazed and I'm happy for him that he's gotten to the level that he has, and he's a good fighter, but his striking is bad and it's a liability. And on the feet, he reacts so poorly to every single punch. Again, if you're going to choose Caesar in the last fight, how could you not go John Matsumoto in this fight? And I get one's an underdog, one's a favorite, but man, Argueta gets his head pinged back every single punch, and then he'll take you down and not land a lot of damage. And if he does, Matsumoto is going to get right up, right? for Argueta to keep him down, he's going to have to keep those hands locked. And then let's go. Matsumoto's up, and he's kicking him again. Everyone's going Argueta, which is really surprising to me. So I already hit the other side. I got Matsumoto.
Yeah, if I'm like 51 to 55% on the Caesar side, I'm 95% on the Matsumoto side. Like Matsumoto.
Budka's striking is a lot better than Argueta's striking.
It is a lot. And Caesar's grappling is nowhere near as good as Matsumoto's.
Exactly.
And Caesar's gas tank isn't as good as Matsumoto's. Casey Tanner puts a pace on people. I've never seen anybody ever outpace Casey Tanner.
He wears the shit out of me in 5 minutes.
Out of everybody. And he was sick that fight, whatever. But still, Matsumoto didn't slow down barely at all. And his counter striking is great. First of all, his leg kicks are great from both sides, both angles, everything. But more than anything, you touch him and he fires. He will never let you have the last strike. And I think he's going to be, and he's very comfortable fighting in the pocket. So he's not going to always try to keep space. He's comfortable there. The issue with Matsumoto in this fight is the leg takedowns of Argueta. Casey shot upper body at first, and Matsumoto did really well there. Argueta shoots legs. He's going to shoot legs. He's going to get on the legs. He's probably going to get Matsumoto down. And then it's how well does Matsumoto do once he gets taken down, especially early. I think he's going to do just fine, but we just don't know.
It's a new age of MMA.
That's it. Yep. It's a new age of MMA. And Matsumoto's wiggly. He knows what to do. He knows not to stay there. And you said it already. I said it on the breakdown, the one that I put on the Patreon earlier, is Argueta he makes mistakes. He lost the Miles Johns fight, not Miles Johns beating him, because he jumped to too many guillotines and just ended up on the bottom.
It's crazy for a guy that's got the wrestling credentials that Argueta has to do such jiu-jitsu things.
Cody Brundage.
It's crazy because he could pace guys and just be a top control guy and wrap wrists and punch, but yet he constantly does stuff and he's falling off all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for that reason, Matsumoto.
Okay, I like this line on Matsumoto. People have brought this in a lot. Minus 200 was a lot less enticing than where it is now.
Yeah.
I am so cold in here. Why do we got to keep it so cold every week?
Well, you can turn it up. You can turn it up a little bit.
It says 64. It's already like freezing.
Turn that up a little bit. Hey, weather girl, can we get this up a couple of degrees?
Everybody in here got jackets except for me.
Yeah.
I did Clint's podcast last week, and two things. One, I did it outside, and when I started, it was sunny and beautiful. And then by the time we finished, the sun had gone down. I was about to get hypothermia. It was crazy cold. And two, everybody was like lighting me up in the comments. They're like, man, this guy's so cocky, and I don't believe a word that he says.
You did not go over. Well, some people liked your commentary.
Yeah, but it's only the people that also watch this show too. A
couple people, they were hating.
I don't even know what I said that was so cocky. Like I just disagree with somebody and they're like, man, this guy's so arrogant.
I think you showed up.
I could show up and be like, before every pick, and please humbly accept this breakdown. And people will still be like, this arrogant prick.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I say every time I do a show with you. I think as soon as the mic cuts, I'm like, arrogant fucking prick. Anyway, so Calvillo Rodriguez, I know everyone's on Piera here because...
No, everybody's not on Piera.
Oh, they're not?
No.
Okay.
This is another Argueta situation. Everybody's on Calvillo.
I'm on that. I kind of am now. The only thing, though, is I wouldn't touch this with a 10.
Hold that thought. So this is saying that it's trying to reconnect, and it says make sure you have a stable internet connection. So I don't know if it's actually recording the pod right now. If this is going
to... As long as it says it's recording, it should be recording.
Okay.
Yep, and then it'll just upload afterwards. Hopefully this works. We had a couple
technical difficulty. This dude's trying to take us down on his way out. We already talked about this.
Yeah. So if the previous couple of fights didn't record,
then we won't re-talk about them.
We're not going to talk about them. So good luck with that. If they did, who knows? We're going to keep going from here. We're going to start with Cynthia Calvillo and Piera Rodriguez.
This is the people's main event anyway, so...
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the fireworks. Piera Rodriguez, she is...
Where will you be when Piera and Cynthia take the center of the octagon?
Man, this would be like 9/11. Like everybody knows
what?
where they're at. Everybody knows where they were at when 9/11 happened.
I was like,
everyone.
How are you about to equate this?
Where were you at?
I was probably in elementary school.
You don't remember exactly?
No.
Man, I remember exactly where I was.
Where were you?
I was driving on my way to school, to college, my first year in college.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say you were leaving the airport or something.
No. Yeah. Anyway. All right. So, I mean, Piera is stiff. I mean, she's 9-1. She has really bad cardio.
Really bad?
Quite. Don't you think so?
I don't really think so.
Man, I think she fades so much. I think she's so stiff, and I think she gasses out.
She's just too mean. Tell her to chill a little bit.
And then her offensive wrestling is not amazing, and if she gets taken down, she will stay on her back. On the Cynthia Calvillo side, I like Cynthia. I think she's good. I think her offensive wrestling is good. I think her defensive wrestling is good. Her striking is not amazing, but it's fluid enough. The issue is, and we've said this over the last few fights, is does she still want to be there? Is she just collecting a check at this point?
She went split with Loopy in a striking fight.
Yeah. So I mean, it's more after that KGB fight that you kind of question stuff. Does she want to be there?
It's a few down the river now.
That stuff, yeah. I like Cynthia for the upset, just with how stiff Piera is. Her wrestling is not really there. She doesn't chain a lot, and she really fades out. She really does. I like Piera. She's come and trained with us before. Super nice. I think Cynthia's gonna end up getting more done and doing more and throwing more and out voluming and just winning a full on MMA fight.
I'm stuck on this one because again, this is another one everybody likes Cynthia this week, and I can understand why. However, we're looking at this. She beat Valeska Machado, Tina Black, who is amazing. I've always said I think Tina Black could be top 10 in the UFC tomorrow. And she about killed a girl a few weeks ago. Like, it was one of the worst women's knockouts I've ever seen. She decisioned Valeska Machado on Contender Series. She beat Kay Hansen, who isn't the worst, is a grappler, isn't the worst of all time. And then beat Sam Hughes, who is the zombie, right? And she out-zombied the zombie.
Yep.
So, I mean, to say she has horrible cardio, I mean, she didn't get finished. She didn't get, beat in the Sam Hughes fight. She lost to Jillian Robertson, who is like the worst possible matchup for Piera possible. A girl who's like straight grappling, going to wear on you. And she is a turtle off her back. I mean, Piera is just a turtle off her back. And one of the problems that we talked about is that in California, I've mentioned this a few times, like at Black House, they spar with boxing gloves on. Well, when you get taken down, to try to learn how to stand up with boxing gloves, you should be peeling hands and grabbing wrists to work your way up, but you're wearing boxing gloves. So how can you do that? I think since she's moved to Vegas.
Has she? Okay.
I've seen her sparring a lot with my girl Jessica Del Boni and a lot of the Extreme crew.
Okay.
So I like that change.
That alone is could lead me to jump ship right there.
Yeah, it's definitely a good change. It's definitely a good change. So you have Extreme Couture versus Syndicate.
Yep. And
Syndicate, I think, just has horrible game plans. And, this is a girl who's winning in the UFC, has been winning, was an LFA champion, versus a girl who's on a 5-fight losing streak. Now, split with Loopy, split with Nunes. Those are not bad losses. Like, those are fine. Man, this is tough because skill for skill, I think I'm with you. I like Calvillo. But the issue that I also see is that with her striking, she backs up against the fence the entire time, and Piera will come forward all the time. And she's mean, and she puts combos together.
There's a toughness factor of
a little
Piera.
Bit. Yeah.
That you're like, man, Calvillo is so much better, but sometimes that doesn't matter. Sometimes just the tougher fighter wins versus...
And is she going to put together 15 minutes of grappling? Like, will she go for a takedown each and every round? Can she not die on the feet? Not that Piera is going to knock her out or anything, but I think she's going to drop a lot of minutes until she decides, okay, I'm ready to shoot. Oh, man.
It's a tricky one, right?
Yeah, this is one I'm just not going to have action on. So for me to tell you guys, I think this person's going to win, I'm going to think very carefully right now. I think Piera is going to have good moments. Cynthia Calvillo will win. I think she could submit her, but it's probably going to be top time for Turtle Piera off her back. Okay. I think Calvillo is going to win.
Got it. What's up, quitter?
All right, next up we have Norma Dumont minus 192 versus Jermaine Randamie plus 160.
I talked about 1.5 women's fights already. I'm done for the day.
For real? You're not going to do this one? I actually wanted to know what you had to say about this one.
Well, Norma Dumont, she's got hips.
The dumper?
She can stop a shot. That's really it. That's all I got.
Yeah, Jermaine's not going to shoot, so it's a wash.
That's a wash.
Well, okay, let me just ask you about this. I have a play on Jermaine Randamie. I thought I got a better number than I did, and then I looked at my bet online this morning. I'm like, whoa. I just bet it at whatever the current line is. I don't know if I like this play as much. She's 4 years off. She's old. She's like ready to be put into the ground into a retirement home. She's like, what, 39 or something like that? Like
older than shit.
That's older than shit. Taking 4 years off and just had a child. What do you think about all that? How much does that affect her? Is it
children make you weak? We know that. But as strange as it is in women's MMA, it doesn't seem to affect you like as much as you would expect.
Kunitskaya fought with the baby in her tummy and still had a good scrap.
It's crazy. And honestly, with it being women's MMA, the age doesn't factor as much. It just generally doesn't as much. But what does is height, reach, and athleticism.
All three go to Jermaine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her striking. As long as she can defend a takedown, and it's not like Norma Dumont has amazing takedowns. No. She was really struggling with Macy Chasson, who I just think is just such a weenie. I think Jermaine's striking is much, much cleaner than Macy Chasson. So if we're talking about a striking match, you have Norma's little pop in, pop out little karate style versus like a brutal Dutch kickboxing style.
Whose only losses are to like Amanda Nunes, and you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I'm gonna take the shot even after 4 years off.
All right, let's do it. Always take the shot.
All right, next up, Court McGee plus 240 versus Alex Morono minus 298.
I'll touch on this. Initially, me anyway, you might initially look at this differently. I see Court McGee and Alex Morono, and initially I'm like, oh, this is Court McGee. He's just the better guy. And then that is the Court McGee I was thinking of like 30 years ago when he got into the UFC. And he's 39 years old now. His last 2 fights have been knockouts. Just clean, just boom. Right hand down the middle by Matt Brown. And then who knocked him out? Oh, Jeremiah Wells knocked him out before that. And Court does everything well. There's not like a huge hole. He's got good cardio. His cage wrestling is good. His defensive cage wrestling is much better than his offensive cage wrestling. And if you do take him down, man, he will pop back up. He's really hard to hold down. The issue with this fight, I don't think there's going to be a lot of wrestling involved because unless Court is the one initiating. And Morono, for as critical of him as I always am, he just doesn't seem like he's not you watch Alex Morono, and that's not a guy who I expect to win fights.
And he always wins.
And he always freaking wins. His arms are really wide. He has such a like wide, flared style. He's always on his toes. He's never settled. It just everything looks wrong, and he does well. But he watches a lot of film. They always talk about that. He's always has good game plans. But the biggest thing to me is that he's so much younger and faster than Court McGee at this point. And Court is he's still doing stuff well. He's just so much slower. And it's not like he was some amazing wrestler, some amazing power striker or something. He was always
He reminds me of Budka, like a lot.
Yes. Just a durable, good. He was good everywhere, and he was tough as shit, and he had good cardio. And just with Morono, I could just see Morono throwing and getting out of the way. And even if the shots aren't really hurting Court, I just think the volume and the movement and the speed of Morono is going to be enough to really win him the fight. We saw Buckley take Morono down. And first of all, Buckley's wrestling is so underrated. And Buckley is underrated just as a whole. We kind of think of him as just like...
His wrestling's so good, he makes people pull guard.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he doubled Morono just through the metaverse. So
But what was so beautiful about that Morono's guillotine right off of that. Like, it was so dangerous. And
immediately bailed. But, you know, I mean, that whole thing. So Morono's good off of his back. He's got a really good fight IQ. His cardio is good. Neither of these guys have great technical, clean, long striking down the middle. And neither of these guys have amazing chins. But I think Morono's chin is significantly better than Court's at this time of their career. And I think the speed factor of Morono and just the youth factor is going to prevail. So,
God, I wanted to go Court so bad on this one.
I know.
To me, so for me, this is going to be a pass. Like, I'm not going to bet this fight. If anything, no, I was going to say do Court pre and then, you know, kind of look to phase it out. I like Court's pressure. I like his grappling. I think he's really, really, really solid. And the thing about Morono is he is willing to play off his back. He will guard you up a little bit. So if Court can get him down, this is a completely different
fight. But Court doesn't offensively wrestle, and he's Vicente Luque. You clinch with him, he will re-clinch and turn you and go.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times he's trying to strike on the outside unless you grapple him, which have we ever seen Morono really offensively?
No, he just stands there and jumps around. And, man, he's finding ways to win against guys, like even against Ponzinibbio when he was winning the entire fight and then he ended up losing. But that was like Ponzinibbio, like, coming after him, and we're like, oh, Ponzinibbio is going to kill him, and he just constantly steps up to the plate. Oh, God, I hate to say this. I think Morono is going to win. I would love to see Court do it. And from a betting standpoint, I think Court's the only one that you can play here. It's dog or pass for my opinion.
All right, next up, Trevor Peek plus 160 versus Charlie Campbell minus 192.
Okay, so this is one I wanted to hear your thoughts on first.
Okay, yeah, I love Charlie Campbell. To me, Campbell is the new age of MMA. He does everything well. You can't, you know, if he gets taken down, he's not the best takedown defense in the world, but you take him down, boom, pops up. Leg kicks. I went back and watched his last fight, his UFC debut when he fought Reyes. Mm-hmm. And I was there live at the event, and I remember that fight being way closer than it was. He did just everything he did was beautiful. It reminded me of Talbot, and this is what I mean by that. One, didn't care what was coming back at him. And Reyes actually looked a lot better to me than I was expecting. He looked mobile and agile and athletic, swung back at him. But Charlie was just taking what was available to him. He was stalking him down. And, you know, one time it would be the body shot. So he'd throw that long two to the body. And then he's stalking him down again. Now it's the inside low kick. Now it's the outside low kick. He wasn't forcing his game. I thought that was beautiful. He'd pull and counter back. And, man, he throws the longest, straightest punches ever. His leg kicks are great. He's got a really good game, and I think actually the most underrated part about him is his grappling. The part that I worry about is Peek just says, screw you, I've got the greatest chin in the world, I'm just going to run forward and throw hammers at you. And that could get tough. But I think that Charlie is smart enough to wrestle if that's the situation. He's got great submissions. I think Charlie's got such a complete game. I see a Charlie Campbell submission. And the other part of this too is that, you know, Peek made that fight with Yaya way closer than it ever needed to be. That guy is amongst the worst in the UFC, and Peek made it like a contest. Like, it was competitive. Now you get a guy who is going to leg kick you the entire time, can wrestle anytime he wants to, never gets tired. You know, outside of a fluke random hammer, I think Campbell's going to destroy him.
I figured you would say that. I was just curious if there's any nugget in there that I didn't expect, just any which way. So,
but you're about to disagree with me.
100%. No, not even 100. Not even on Campbell. Campbell actually does all the stuff that you said, all of it. Thing that Campbell does that I think is very problematic with him in this fight and every other fight, he's almost fine with it. Is he's too willing to brawl when he has people hurt and he marches them down.
All right, he's learned from that. Come on.
No, if you watch him in the Duncan fight, which we saw, and we know how that outcome was, watch his other fights after that. And the thing with Campbell is, and look, I like Campbell. Like, he looks like he's my brother. Like, we're super.
You guys are from the same neighborhood.
Yeah, we're from, like, we grew up in the same neighborhood. Actually, one of his coaches, Eric Heyer, who's trains over at Longo Weedman, is one of their coaches, like a coach over there. I've known him forever. Like, I love Campbell. We're brothers. We're ginger brothers. But he just stalks people down. And first of all, he's stiff. Like, his head doesn't move. He does all the right stuff on a technical level of straight. It's almost like you're trying to teach somebody to dance and they're doing all of the stuff correctly, but they don't have rhythm. And that's like Charlie Campbell to me. Like, he does all of the technical stuff right, but his head's not moving. There's just a stiffness about him.
Yeah.
So you get it. Now, in the brawling, whenever he has people hurt, he is just walking Terminator style at them.
I love that.
And, but he's not protecting himself. He's going to get hit in the exchanges there. And the second he hurts Peak or hits Peak, Peak is not going to back up. He's going to fire. It is going to be, I look at this as a Duncan, Charlie Campbell fight all over again. And I don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference, but Peak is training up in Colorado for this fight. He's at Elevation. That is going to help. Not Elevation Fight Team, but just at Elevation.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, I don't think it's going to help. He's training with Bang, Ludwig, and Gaethje and all those guys at Onyx.
Imagine Peak comes out and starts switching his stances.
Oh my gosh, it'd be phenomenal. So, but him just being up there working with those guys is going to be good. And the thing with Peak, man, if you take him down, that dude's like electric. He's just like wiry and just like turns and gets back up and goes. And I think Charlie Campbell is infinitely better than Peak could ever be. And I think Charlie Campbell is going to have a much better career in the UFC than Peak ever will.
Are you about to get to a Peak pick?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Stylistically.
Oh, come on.
I'm riding the Peak train.
At any point in time, if Campbell wants to take him down, he can just take him down and just beat him up.
Here's actually the bet I like that I think is a good bet.
Submission. Submission.
Is Peak by finish, Campbell by decision.
No, he's submitting him. All right, next one. That's the lock of the century, guys. Campbell submission.
All right, next up. Lucas.
Bet your house on it.
Bet your house on it.
Lucas Bresky at plus 285 versus Johnny Walker's little big brother making his UFC debut, Walter Walker at minus 360.
Man, is it me or does Walker suck?
He's horrible.
That dude is so horrible. His punches look like what you would see out of a Mortal Kombat movie of like Gordo. He's just like standing there and just like, it is bad. He gets takedowns. He gets on top. He's massive. Bresky, for as much shit as everyone gives him, he's actually not bad. He just gasses. Like, I was watching his UFC fights back. I mean, hey, he got beat up by Waldo, but Waldo, is good jab, good boxing, stays on the outside. But Bresky against Budai looked really good for...
Oh, he won that fight 100%.
Yeah. Like, I thought he won that fight. Then even against Carl Williams, I mean, he was taken down, but he...
Always fights up.
Just fights up. I like Bresky for the upset here. I think Walker sucks. And he's fighting these guys who are... I mean, he's 6'5", 250 or whatever he is. And he's fighting these, like, old midgets that are 5'9", and... I mean, look, he's beating them up. His striking looks horrible. I mean, there's a good chance he just gets him down and just like throws one punch and does something.
But I don't see it.
But I cannot get behind a guy who is that bad. He's just huge. I'm going Bresky with the... This to me is Kyle Nelson getting... Who is he on like a 20-fight losing streak with, and then he won. And then it like...
We had a draw with the little Korean guy.
That's what it was. Yes, it was that. This is that. They're trying to get rid of Bresky here, and Bresky's not going anywhere. I'm going Bresky.
Yeah, I played that this morning, and I tipped it to the Discord. I got Bresky at plus 295. And this was part of my process. So I'm watching Walter, and he goes for takedowns, and he gets 2, and then is exhausted. And I'm like, man, has Bresky ever fought somebody that just gets takedowns and can wrestle his ass off? And I'm like, oh yeah, he just fought Carl Williams, who is like the best wrestler in the heavyweight division, by far the most athletic and a decent striker. A lot more process than Walter Walker. And man, every time that Carl would take him down, he is standing right back up and cracking him. And then, Carl's hands on his knees, dying, about to have a heart attack. And I'm like, man, what is Walter going to do differently than Carl Williams? Carl Williams at least has fights in the UFC, has wins in the UFC. He was taking down a Penn State wrestler. Like, the dude can wrestle. He's athletic. Walter's not that.
I thought I was going to be on that island alone.
No, I posted it this morning. I like that number. I was like, plus 295 on a guy making his debut. And here's the other thing. No USADA, and we talked about it. There's still drug testing, whatever. But all of a sudden, Bresky has abs again.
And cardio.
No, he's never had cardio.
No, but He will. I bet you this week.
That's what I'm saying. But he's one of those guys. So I've given him the most shit. I've thought forever he was the worst heavyweight in the UFC. And his pre-UFC tape would tell you, oh yeah, he is the worst guy in the UFC. Like, period. He has the worst cardio. And then he came out looking amazing on Contender Series against a guy who's probably going to be brain dead in a few years. But man, he fights through his tiredness. Carl Williams kept taking him down, and he would get up and stand up and throw punches, and then he'd be dying and then throw more punches. Walter gets tired from his own takedowns, from riding top control and doing nothing against small people. I like Breske here. He's got abs again. He got rid of that little gut that he had.
Little fupa.
Yeah, I think he's back on the gear. And Walter, I mean, he had all the time to take the gear. He should have been on the gear pre-UFC, and that's how he looked. I don't expect him to look much different, but I do expect Breske to look different.
All right.
Cool. All right, next we have Ignacio Bahamondes minus 345 versus Christos Giagos plus 275.
Give us your thoughts. Go.
I'm going to not play this one probably. I think Ignacio is going to win. He's super game, got really good awareness. I love his work with Bilal. I think Bilal is one of the smartest games in the sport. He's at VFS, which I like a lot. He just got kind of beat up by Ludovic, and Ludovic does that to a lot of people. That dude is a mauler. Giagos has bad cardio. His striking is not the best. He's more of a jiu-jitsu guy, and if he doesn't get that game off, that's tough sledding for him. I think Bahamondes is probably going to knock him out, and that's what I got.
Yeah, I like Bahamondes.
Not that I'm discounting Giagos. I think he is getting better.
Yes.
But I think Bahamondes is the future more so.
I think you're right. Giagos is getting more comfortable in there, where he was almost like some of those guys, almost like a Brundage, where he's really dangerous, but if he doesn't win first round, he almost like panics. And so I think he still probably has a little bit of that. It's probably less so being at Kill Cliff and the more fights he has in the UFC. I'm surprised at how long he stayed in the UFC with how many times he's lost. He's just that guy that will take fights and never says no or something. They just keep giving him more. But Ignacio does he's got great kicks when he uses them. You mentioned Ludovic. Ludovic is a horse, and he's not worried about swinging on people, and he will crowd the distance, and he will go. And Giagos is very explosive and dynamic as well, but he doesn't have the fuck it attitude about crashing the pocket and trading toe-to-toe. And so I think Ludovic was able to land really good boxing combinations because he was comfortable staying in there and doing that.
And he had to be inside. Whereas
Giagos, I think, is going to start from further away, and then he's going to find himself lunging in and trying to close the distance where it's not as comfortable and the space is a little bit differently. If Ignacio can keep his kicks going early, keep his knees going early, and just be patient, I think Giagos will fall into his own demise somewhere. And I see Ignacio winning inside the distance. I just don't say KO, TKO, because I could see
a little front choke.
Yeah, front choke, hurt him, and then a rear naked choke or something like that occurring. So I like Ignacio inside the distance.
I will never forgive Giagos for beating Sean Soriano. That is the most heartbreaking thing in the world. I am the biggest Sean Soriano fan. You will not find a bigger Sean Soriano fan than this guy.
Oh.
And he beat him, and now they're teammates, and Soriano's running him through kickboxing drills. It just pisses me off. Like, let him have one, you know?
Just let him win.
Don't choke him. Strike like men.
All right, next. Morgan Cherrier minus 135 versus Jose Mariscal plus 114.
Okay, give us your thoughts on this.
I think Morgan is just way cleaner, way sharper. The dude has leveled up, especially in his UFC debut. I wasn't fighting the best guy in the world. Chepe brings chaos. And I think this is like almost like an Alex Hernandez type thing. If he doesn't bring chaos, I think he's going to have a much tougher time. His whole thing pre-UFC was, I'm going to bring chaos. My chin is up in the air and I'm swinging hard and I'm doing a lot of stuff. And that worked for him. If he tries to play patient with Morgan, he's going to get picked apart. Man, I just think Morgan has looked amazing, so dynamic and fast, and I think this is his time. I got Morgan just by being cleaner, sharper, smarter, and his chin down just a tad bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Chepe's record. Of course, he beat Peak, and he beat Peak off of just wrestling, just taking him down.
He's a judo guy.
Yeah, I mean, the trips, the throws, stuff like that. And then he beat Jack Jenkins in that weird arm thing. That was just crazy. I do think Chepe is way better than I've given him credit for in the past.
100%. He's leveled up a lot in the last few years.
He looks good. His last loss is to Sean Soriano in 2020.
See, he's a homie. He's a good guy.
And that was a decision loss. And then, of course, but he's losing to the better guys he's fighting. His last 3 losses are Sean Soriano, Steve Garcia, where he was, beating Garcia up, and Garcia just won't die and then just zombies it.
Is he maybe the best fighter in the UFC right now? The dude can't lose.
And then Anderson Brito. I mean, so just really, really, really good guys. And then he has a win over Yusuf Zalal back in the day and a win over Pat Sabatini, a decision loss to Bryce Mitchell. So he has fought really, really, really good guys. He also fought Gregor Gillespie back in the day. The thing with Cherrier is those French guys can strike. And the French guys as a whole, including Cherrier, whatever it is.
They call him Perrier.
I like that too. Take a drink. He just has good footwork and he has good movement and he's not an idiot and he does a lot of the right stuff. And a lot of, who's the guy, who beat Lofren Keelan? Lapalus. Like you see,
or Bochniak. Who are you talking about? Kyle Bochniak?
Lapalus.
Okay.
The footwork, the takedown defense, they just do so much of the right stuff and they do less. We were talking about that recently. Less is more. They're not going crazy. They're literally just there with good footwork and good fundamentals. They range well. The French guys tend to have that karate distant stance as a whole. And where they're not just standing there going toe-to-toe, and they let other people just fall into traps, defend a takedown.
And Mavov's been the best at that so far.
That's it. You're right. Great. Yep. Stay tall, do less, let people swing, miss, counter. And I think Chepe, if this is a brawl, it favors Chepe every day of the week.
100%.
But I just don't think it's going to be, and I think it's going to be Chepe trying to brawl and Cherrier moving and sticking. Honestly, we saw Blanchfield and Furo the other day.
It takes 2 people to agree to that.
Yes, yep. And I think it's going to be one person sticking and moving and the other one trying to brawl. But I do like a decision. I like the over here. I think it's Chepe's hard to finish, especially in this situation.
But he gets chinned a lot.
He does. And
Morgan's got fast hands.
I think these guys are clean enough to stick it through quite a bit.
All right.
All right, next up in the co-main, we have Alexander Hernandez minus 198 versus Damon Jackson plus 164.
Man, Damon Jackson is so hit and miss. You know what you're getting out of him. He's always the same.
Kind of, but what is he great at? What's he really good at?
His stuff is really just body lock, takedown, wear you out.
But then in the Billy Q fight, he was a striker for the first round.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought he was landing the better strikes on Billy Q.
But that's what I'm saying. What is Damon's thing? He just kind of does everything decent.
Yep. The thing with him is, to me, this is a cardio matchup because both guys have been known to fail cardio-wise in the end. But I think Hernandez's cardio is better.
I do too.
And I think Hernandez, we've said this for a while. Hernandez, when he first got to the UFC, what made him good was his chaos and his athleticism and his being dynamic. And then he went to Factory X and they tried to get him to
settle down.
Yep, to footwork and to touch. And he lost a lot of fights because of that. It was that transitional period. But I think he settled into that position. And I think he settled into the stance, into the striking style, into the cardio of living at altitude. And I think his grappling is good enough to not get finished right off the bat. And I think he's physical enough to deal with Damon Jackson. And I think more than anything is that I think his cardio, I think whatever happens is going to happen. But I think at the end of it, Damon is going to be more tired than Hernandez will after the halfway mark of the fight. And then I see Hernandez really moving forward, doing a lot more. So even if Damon wins round 1, he's winning a good portion of round 2. I think Hernandez will steal round 2 just on cardio and then really start to put it on in round 3. Even though his cardio is not known to be amazing, I think in relation to Damon, I think it will be. And I think he's just going to have the striking edge over Damon. I think Damon needs a submission finish to win this fight. And without a submission finish, I don't think that he will, because I think he just is going to slow down and be a little bit too clunky. Hernandez by cardio and athleticism.
I think he slows down when honestly, I don't even think it's a cardio thing. I think it's just like a fighting thing.
Adrenaline. It's squeezing.
It's adrenaline, but I think he's also getting broken. Like these fights, it's like when he's front running, he looks great as a front runner. Like even the Jim Miller fight. I know Jim Miller's old and whatever, but that was the best fight that he's looked so far, and he didn't slow down at all. But also he was able to get his jab.
Oh, you're just talking Hernandez. Okay, I thought you were talking Damon breaking. Okay.
No. I think that Hernandez breaks, right? You get a Billy Q guy where you beat his ass for one round and then he's still pressing you. I think that's dude, I don't know how I'm going to get this guy off me. What do I do now? And Damon has a little bit of that, but he's also got a bad chin. And he's also not as, I don't know, he's just not as solid. His striking looked good against Billy Q.
We talked about that earlier. Billy Q doesn't move his head at all. And so I think Billy Q looks good once people start to fade a little bit, but he tends to get hit early.
Oh, a ton. Even Zalal was snapping his head back. Yeah, he lost to Algio, and Algio's a cardio freak and doesn't make mistakes. And then he beat Jim Miller before that, and then lost to...
Unless he's fighting Kyle Nelson, then Algio makes...
Yeah, a lot of mistakes. I like Alex here. I think he's going to get the knockout. I mean, man, how old is Damon Jackson now? He's got to be, what,
36?
35. He's got to be 35. He's had some really bad knockout losses. The Ige one was bad. I remember back in the day, the Movlid Kabilov one, and that was a long time ago. I think Alex hits hard. I think he moves well. And like you said, I think that Damon's going to get really tired when he can't just pace him and grapple him and hang on him. Even the Argueta fight. Argueta was on a couple days' notice and up a weight class, and Damon was on death's door. Now you get a guy who's, full size, hits hard, cracks, and does everything well. I think that Hernandez is getting the knockout.
I like it.
All right. In the main event, we have Brendan Allen minus 205 versus Chris Curtis at plus 170.
Hey, before we get to this, you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just do it. Do it. Do it. Don't even subscribe to the Patreon or anything. We have enough people there. We don't want you. But YouTube subscribers, it's always... And really, we don't even want YouTube subscribers. I don't even care. It's really just an ego thing for me. It's like getting likes on Instagram. Like, I don't even... I just want as many likes so I can look at it and get my dopamine.
Hey, Kamu, do you have a YouTube page you want to plug for your art?
Or Instagram where people can buy your art?
You just check me out at The Joanne across all social
media.
Now,
can we blank that part out?
Yeah, we're going to blank that out because...
I don't need his personal thing to go crazy.
All right. I want to hear your thoughts on Allen and Curtis.
This fight is a huge pass for me. I mean, we watched a fight that was extremely close the first time, and I don't know how many improvements Brendan Allen has made since then. Like, how much better
was it extremely close? Didn't Curtis finish Allen?
Yeah, knocked him the fuck out. But what I'm saying is the first round was close.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, okay, well, Allen threw more, but, Curtis landed harder, and I don't know. It was kind of subjective. How many more improvements could he have made? He looked so good in the fights before that. His striking is good, his feints, his movement. He was seeing things, catching things. He went with Puna. I know in hindsight that doesn't look that impressive, but at the time, Puna was knocking guys out, and he was catching every shot, and he was fighting in the pocket with him, Brendan Allen. Chris Curtis has great takedown defense. He never gets tired. He fights within himself. He hits hard. He works the body. Like, who in their right mind is going to play Brendan Allen at what was he, minus 220?
Minus
Allen
205.
Allen's the favorite here?
Yeah, minus 205 against a guy you already lost to. And, the one bright spot is he did take him down right there in the first round and jumped up on his back. But, to keep Chris Curtis down, to submit Chris Curtis is going to be tough. You got 5 rounds. Brendan Allen, I think, slows down a lot, especially if he's going to be getting tagged to the body. I could see him staying on the outside and just outpointing Chris Curtis, just voluming him and moving and just trying not to get hit. But to play Brendan Allen at that number seems insane to me. And I know I always go off for Chris Curtis. Like, I'm always picking Chris Curtis in every matchup ever. But we've already seen this, and not a lot has changed since then. It wasn't that long ago. And just stylistically, if Chris Curtis had the worst takedown defense ever, okay, Brendan Allen has fixed his top game, and this could be a much different fight. But I don't think that much has changed. And so Honestly, for me here, it's dog or pass, and I kind of assume that Allen will win, but it's dog or pass for me.
I think a lot has changed. Not a lot. I think two things have changed.
A lot have changed for them, but just how they match up is the same to me.
So I disagree. I think that Curtis, I don't want to use the word exposed, but people know what they're getting with him now.
Yeah.
And I think when he first got to the UFC and when Allen first fought him, you're not used to fighting a guy that Philly shells and does that and rolls, and you're like, no, he should be getting hurt, and and then his takedown defense, you didn't know it was as good as it is. His takedown defense is freaking phenomenal.
But then he fights Imavov and he's getting thrown around, which is crazy.
Yeah, that was wild. But I think Curtis is, people know how to beat him now, and they know that if you touch Curtis and move, you're going to steal some rounds and some moments before he adjusts and does it. And he doesn't change his style. He doesn't change his stance. And I think Allen, my criticisms of Allen in the past have been that he was the Charles Oliveira of the future, where he would quit. Like, he would kind of get in those situations and panic. And we saw it with the original Chris Curtis fight, is he threw everything he had at him, and Curtis was like, yeah, okay, I'm good. And then he jumped to a heel hook or whatever it was. You see him start to kind of panic a little. And I think Allen has come into his own. He's calmed down quite a bit. He's not as panicked. I think his wrestling is actually infinitely better than it was when they fought the first time. And I like Allen here for the decision win. And I think that, like I said, I think we know what Curtis is about. And I think he knows not to brawl and to throw it all at him, because Curtis has a block of a head and is going to take it. And I think we're going to see a very patient Allen. And I think he's going to win a couple rounds. And I think we're going to see Curtis get frustrated and start talking shit. And then I think it's going to be even easier for Allen to pick him apart.
Yeah, I could definitely see a world like that. Can also see a world where Curtis tags his body for the first 2 rounds, even if he loses. And now Brendan Allen is tired, and Chris Curtis... okay, you're not a gambling man, but if you were to put money on this fight, would you ever play Brendan Allen at minus 200?
On this, no. Nope, I wouldn't do it.
Right? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
No. Because Curtis is tough, and Curtis does have the nuclear option.
Yeah, he cracked him one time with a hook over the head and ended him. That was bad.
And that was death. Yeah, but I do think if the odds were a little closer, if they were...
I'll pick him. Okay, this guy won the first fight, but this guy's been on an upward trajectory.
Under minus 200, minus 1 something, I think it's a very...
playable line.
Or
you could just wait for his decision line.
Yeah. Or wait for the decision line, or actually the over line as well. I'm assuming that's probably going to be wide, but
yeah.
I think this is probably definitely going to go 2 or 3 rounds minimum.
I'm not going to die on my Chris Curtis shield here, but I'm like, man, I don't know.
The thing why I want to almost die on the Allen shield, not really, but kind of really be a little bit more confident about him, is we just haven't seen any improvement in Chris Curtis since we've seen him. He is the same that he was when he got in the UFC versus now, and all of his fights.
Knocked out your boy Buckley.
He did. But again, that was, we know what we're getting with Chris Curtis now. I mean, we fought him with Calvin, and we knew exactly what we were getting, and we formulated a game plan, and the game plan worked.
But that was an extremely, extremely close fight. And if that headbutt didn't happen, we're talking about a much closer fight optically. And Kelvin is so good. And then he's beating Marc-Andre Barriault. He knocked out Joaquin Buckley. These are top guys in the division too. And Allen's not fighting a jiu-jitsu nerd that's going to lay on his back, or guys that are going to gas. Curtis is going to be in his face for 5 rounds. Yeah. That's 25 minutes to try to not get hit with a check hook or with a body shot. That's tough to me.
It is, but I mean, look at Hermanson did it. I mean,
I think Hermanson's better than Allen.
I don't know if I agree with that or not, but it's just, my point is that...
Would Brendan Allen beat Joe Pyfer tomorrow?
No, he wouldn't.
Okay. Well,
no.
And they have similar styles.
Well, maybe. I mean, if they do, it's like, hey, we're trading, and you're flipping a coin with that one.
I think Pyfer knocks him out. Yeah. I think Pyfer for the first 3 rounds, because Allen fades. He's not like a cardio crazy machine. It's just those guys fade more than him. And the thing that I like about Curtis is he fights so much with, you're right, we know exactly what we're going to get with him. It's not like he's going to come out shooting takedowns, but he fights within himself, and he knows he can do that for 30 rounds.
There's an economy of movement with Curtis.
Always.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I think Alan is going to win. You put up a good argument. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Thank you.
No, I like it. I'm with everything that you said. I still lean Alan for the win, but I can't hate the.
Maybe take Curtis after like 1 or 2 rounds. I think that's a good live bet. Like a little bit of Alan pre, and then can maybe get out on some Curtis live.
All right, folks. Curtis live.
That's it. That's how we're gonna end the show. Curtis live. All right, Gabe's last show next week. Everybody be here. He's going to be selling his art. He's going to have 6 different paintings, so we'll auction them off live on the show, actually.
Actually, and the 6 different paintings would be 6 different spots where paintings could go that he didn't bring anything to.
We'll auction off the real estate.
Yeah, to go. So, see ya.